let's be real. Jaxson Dart is not starting week 1. You can go ahead and lock that up. There's no
I
shot.
don't think so.
What if the Jags win 6 games? Shedeur, you know how Tom Brady remembered like every single quarterback drafted ahead of him? Shedeur may just remember every single player drafted ahead of him. This is what makes the NFL great, isn't it? Nobody knows anything. We don't have Travis Hunter, generational talent. I mean, all right. I thought this was an absolute heist, getting all these picks. That had to hurt, man.
Welcome to the NFL on Fox podcast. I am your host, Dave Helman, and the first 32 names are in the books. The first round of the 2025 NFL Draft is over Thursday night up at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. A lot of stuff we expected. A couple big surprises in the first 32 picks. Cam Ward going number 1 overall to the Tennessee Titans. Probably the least surprising event of the night. Couple really big ones there. You see it. Travis Hunter does go number 2 overall, but not to the Cleveland Browns, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who executed a blockbuster trade. Couple of those on the night. The Houston Texans and New York Giants engineered one. The Atlanta Falcons picked twice in the first round. That was a bit of a shocker. Ashton Genty goes to the Las Vegas Raiders and Pete Carroll, just like everybody expected. Lot to get to. A very fun night. Gonna break it down into some categories. Winners, losers, biggest surprise, what we're looking for going into Friday as Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback, falls out of the first round of the draft. We're talking about it right now. People will be talking about it all day Friday up until the Cleveland Browns start the festivities with the 33rd overall pick, as well as the 36th overall pick, by the way, thanks to that trade for Travis Hunter, the Browns owning 2 early picks on Friday night. That is where things stand as we move into day 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3 coming at you on Friday night. Bound to be a really fun weekend. In my opinion, the best weekend of the year. I am not exaggerating. I live for this stuff, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So much to recap. I touched on a few of the big ones, but we're going to get to everything that happened in the first round. I did it with a big assist. Jason McIntyre, co-host of The Herd right here on FS1, joined me breaking down all the biggest storylines, what we liked, what we didn't like, what surprised us, what didn't surprise us. Really great conversation with Jason McIntyre for round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Let's get to it. Check it out. All right, J-Mac, like I said, thanks so much for taking the time after a busy Thursday night. This is the best time on the sports calendar. You got the first round of the draft. You got 3 NBA playoff games going. Appreciate you taking the time to jump on and with all the chaos.
Well, very exciting. I know you're a big Cowboys guy, and as soon as I saw their pick, I started laughing. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to discuss that one. Oh, poor Cowboys. Oh.
Okay, I love the dichotomy there because Cowboys make a boring, safe offensive line pick, and it's very widely made fun of. New York Jets make a boring, safe offensive line pick, and it's roundly applauded. It seems, I don't know, different sides of the same coin, I guess. I guess maybe it's about what the expectations are. Obviously, the Cowboys, a team expecting to make a push for the playoffs, and I don't know if a guard pick is getting it done.
Well, one of those teams has been to the playoffs a bunch in the last 5 years and was close. It was like, oh, wide receiver makes sense. Running back makes sense. And you're right, though. Jerry did get prudent and go with the interior offensive lineman. Felt a little rich that early for an interior. Usually the tackles go that high. I mean, hell, the Chiefs got arguably the best tackle in the draft, although he's coming off an injury at 32. I don't know. Listen, you go Alabama, it's probably not the worst pick in the world, but Dallas has their work cut out. You'd admit that here in the coming rounds.
Oh, absolutely. I've said so many times in the lead up to this draft, I mean, The Cowboys just have stop me if I sound like a broken record. They have too many needs for one draft class to deal with. That's what happens when you're not willing to spend in free agency. So you go into this thing, you need a starting receiver. You do need help on the offensive line. You need a running back. You could probably use some help at corner. Did I mention defensive tackle? I mean, there was no chance they were going to do it all with a handful of draft picks. So I agree with you, but I'm not sure what all they were supposed to do other than be willing to spend more money a month and a half ago.
That's fair. And, maybe hire a coach that people would get excited about. But that's another podcast or a video or a talking point. Yeah.
It's interesting. We can get to the Cowboys in a little bit because that's where things really felt like they started to go away from the norm here. Because, J-Mac, my biggest takeaway from the top of this draft is I think if you had just done a blind mock draft at the beginning of the week and then just checked out and not watched any content, not followed along, not tuned in on Thursday night, if you just done a mock and then checked in on Friday morning to see what happened, I think you would have nailed this thing, man. With the exception of the big Browns-Jags trade, the Jags come up from 5-2 to get Travis Hunter. We will talk about all of that, but it was really, really chalk. I mean, Cam Ward, the obvious number 1 overall pick, Travis Hunter right after him, Abdul Carter to the Giants, and on and on and on. And right around the time the Cowboys took Tyler Booker at 12 overall, that was the first time anything really felt like it deviated from the norm. It felt like the NFL saw the top of this draft the same way all of us in the media did, which is kind of a rarity.
I largely agree. For sure, you could have got the top 5 in that right order, despite the trade for plus 315. So $100 wins you $315. And Genty going 6 was expected. I think if you're looking for a maybe curveball, T-Mac going to the Panthers. Now, I had that in a mock in January, and then the video comes out where he's like, "Yeah, I don't watch film. I don't love football." One of those deals. But it seemed like it didn't deter the Panthers, although their front office is a bit of a mess. Who the hell knows what they're doing? And I do think I was surprised that Colston Loveland went off the board before Tyler Warren. Did that catch you by surprise? Because I know, Tyler Warren and the Penn State team was all over Fox this year, and he was unbelievable. Yeah. And there was chatter that maybe the Jets take him at 7, although there was some stuff behind the scenes that you're like, I don't know. Tyler Warren did nothing his first 3 years. Absolutely nothing. And then as a 23-year-old, he kind of dominates. And oh, by the way, every team wanted him to do the testing and the shuttles and the bench and all that. He didn't do anything. He didn't want to do any testing. So what's he hiding? I just wonder. Loveland, of course, a phenomenal athlete went earlier. That was a mild surprise to me.
Yeah, the beauty of the 6-month draft cycle is by the time night 1 comes around, I've heard it all. Every scenario has been pitched to me. I would say it was a mild surprise, but I've talked to plenty of people who see Colston Loveland as the higher ceiling player. And I think it's a classic NFL thing where we watch Tyler Warren star on Saturdays. He wears 8 hats for the Penn State offense. He's a household name because he gets to the semifinals of the college football playoff. And the NFL looks at it and says, yeah, but Colston Loveland he's got a higher ceiling as a receiver. He runs better routes. He's a little bit more athletic. He can be just as useful as a blocker. And I saw people noting, I think correctly, that Ben Johnson is in Chicago now, and Colston Loveland is more in line with a Sam Laporta. And I think you see the logic there immediately where you're like, oh, if Ben Johnson thinks this guy can be Sam Laporta, no wonder he went 4 spots higher. But
yeah,
I do agree with you that it bucks the norm and it bucks what we saw for so many months, at least a little bit.
My biggest disconnect with the whole draft process, and let's be real, you and I follow this a lot. We get some right, we get some wrong. Let's admit the teams also have no friggin' clue what they're doing half the time. I mean, hell, Kyle Pitts was supposed to be transformative. I don't even know if he's getting a second contract at tight end with the Falcons. I could go on with quarterbacks and stuff. But watching Tyler Warren and a guy like Shedeur Sanders, I can't believe we've 3 minutes in and we haven't mentioned him, just play great in college football all season. And then kind of slide a little. It's just okay, so I've got 3 months of watching games and they're really good football players. And then 4 months of no games and just kind of breaking down their film. And you just nitpick everybody. And I will do plenty on Shedeur, but that disconnect is a little bit strange to me. Remember Brock Purdy at Iowa State? Mm-hmm. 2 years in, everybody's like, oh, that's a first rounder. And then he stays 2 more and they're like, oh, this guy's nothing. And you could just nitpick his game, but he's actually a really good quarterback. And he goes in the 7th round, and he might be a top 10 quarterback in the league, depending who you talk to. So I just the whole NFL. This is what makes the NFL great, isn't it? Nobody knows anything.
I'm a firm believer that if you gave me the spring to just watch tape and do nothing else, I don't get to meet these guys. I don't get to do the medical checks. I don't get to do any of that crap. If all I had to go on was the tape and I go into draft night, I'm not going to be right all the time, but I'd do fine. Like, I would do just fine. Okay. We brought up Shedeur. We can get into, obviously he falls out of the first round, I guess, if we're burying the lead a little bit. Shedeur Sanders, the star quarterback, Deion Sanders' son out of Colorado, number going to be retired in Boulder. He falls out of the first round entirely. That is a little bit surprising to me. But again, going back to the chalkiness of this draft, I think by the time this week rolled around, people had warmed up to the idea that at the very least, the NFL did not see him as a top 5, top 6 type of pick. At the absolute earliest, maybe he goes number 9 overall to the New Orleans Saints. Clearly, that doesn't happen. So in line with that, I want to pick your brain about the other New York team, because heading into this week, we were pretty confident the Browns weren't going to take Shedeur Sanders, but maybe the New York Giants would. They opt for Abdul Carter. Then they trade up to get a quarterback of the future, but not Shedeur Sanders. It's Jaxson Dart. How do you assess this? I mean, clearly they don't regret passing on a quarterback at 3 because they got their guy later on in the night, but was this the right way to play it if you're the New York Giants?
Yeah. I mean, you could actually say, yeah. I mean, they got the quarterback they wanted, but I'll say this, a lot of reporting leading up to the draft is smoke screens. It's like definitely lying to reporters to put out a narrative you want. And one that they got right was that there was a division in the Giants among Jaxson Dart and Shedeur. My feeling is Daboll loves Jaxson Dart, feels like he's better suited for his offense. And you heard some stuff like Todd McShay would say, the way Josh Allen scrambles out of pressure, that's what I see from Jaxson Dart scrambling out of pressure. And you hear that, you're like, come on, get real. But maybe Daboll's seeing that. And apparently Joe Shane really wanted Shedeur because that dude gave Daniel Jones all of the money, and it's like, hey, man, you got to save your job. Well, is Jaxson Dart going to save your job? I just can't disconnect the Lane Kiffin offense and what I saw from Matt Corral a few years ago. I love Matt Corral coming out. I'm like, that's my guy. I think there's something there. He's not even in the league. And it's like that some of these offenses in college, the transition just isn't there. Now, Dart was a big-time prospect, started at USC, I believe. And so maybe he fits what Daboll wants. But, man, Shedeur, how Tom Brady remembered like every single quarterback drafted ahead of him? Shedeur may just remember every single player drafted ahead of him if this continues. It's got to be a devastating night for him. I know he's going to put on a brave face and flash the ice. He's all blinged out at his party. Bro, that has got to be a humbling moment. If this guy really went into interviews and was just cocky as hell and, hey, what's up? Yeah, I made $5 million in NIL. What's up? Hey, if he's acting like that, I don't, it could have been a turnoff to the point like, dude, I just don't want to get in bed with this guy.
It's a different level. I mean, we still talk about Aaron Rodgers' slide from number 1 to the mid-20s. And he wound up getting drafted. We did so many years of content about Aaron Rodgers' slide, and he was still a first-round pick. So this for Shedeur Sanders, it's absolutely devastating. It's humbling. And I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth for a couple seconds here, J-Mac. I don't really love Jaxson Dart as a prospect.
I'm with you.
I think, your point about Ole Miss's offense is a fair one. I think his decision-making in college was suspect, especially for a guy that's played as much college football as he has. But I love what the New York Giants did here. I love everything about their process. If you listen to this show, anybody at home, I've been saying for months that I don't think the Giants could afford to pass on a truly game-changing prospect at the top of the draft in Abdul Carter. Their last 2 Super Bowl teams had waves on waves of pass rushers. Not only did they add Abdul Carter to a front that already had Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau, but they come out right after the fact, and general manager Joe Shane says, yeah, we're picking up Kayvon's option. We don't care that we just drafted a D end. We're going to keep him. We want as many pass rushers as possible. And then they still managed to get a quarterback. And the key part of it here is they don't part ways with a future first-round pick to do it. Yes. They traded up from the front of the second round, but all they gave to the Houston Texans was, I think they gave them their second-round pick and an extra third, and they get it done without mortgaging next year's draft. So even if Jaxson Dart's not good, this is not a decision that should set you back. And if he is good, then we can throw all the parades for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll that we want in a few years' time. So worst case scenario, you didn't have to do that much to answer the quarterback question. And best case scenario, you've got one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, as well as a promising young quarterback. So I love everything about what they did, even if I don't actually love the quarterback in question.
Who's the third? Give me your ranks currently for the NFC East.
I don't think it changes that much. I think right now I'd still say Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I do think the Giants are a better team now. Like tonight, the Giants are a better team, and I think they're probably better than they're getting credit for. I think Russell Wilson and Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton and Tyrone Tracy. If Andrew Thomas on the offensive line is healthier next year, I think the offensive line has something cooking. Yeah, I think they're a better team, but okay. I'm not ready to put them above a Cowboys team that has
that's what I was wondering.
I think them for a decade.
Yeah, some people will probably push that, but let's be real. Jaxson Dart is not starting week 1. You can go ahead and lock that up. There's no
I
shot.
Don't think so.
So, it's Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, neither of which is particularly inspiring from my point of view. I don't believe. I know you know Jameis Winston a little. I think you may like him a little more than I do. I don't hate the guy or anything. I'm not a big believer in him being a winning quarterback. So yeah, I can't drag the Giants out of the basement. But you're right. The foundation is there. The big question will be, what number do they need to get another year for the coach and GM? Like
that is a
is 5 wins going to save their job?
I'd be surprised.
Yeah. So and like playing Jaxson Dart, is that going to help you? Now, maybe you play the whole, hey, we got to get Jaxson Dart, see what we've got. Maybe there's some promise, give us another year. And I don't know. It just feels like if you had Shedeur, I think Shedeur would be more likely to start week 1 than Jaxson Dart. Would you agree or no?
I do agree with that. I think Shedeur Sanders is like a ready to go guy. I'm not saying he would be like a phenom, but I think he's ready to step in and start. I do agree with you there, but I think I have a higher opinion of what Russell Wilson can do for the Giants than a lot of people, because I think people's opinions of Russ are colored by the way it ended in Pittsburgh, which is fair because it was bad, but they got to 10 wins. Russell Wilson got them to 10 wins. And there's stuff to work with there. Like I said, Malik Neighbors is a hell of a place to start. Tyrone Tracy had a nice rookie season. I'm not trying to sell anybody that the Giants are a playoff team, but I absolutely think the Giants can flirt with relevance at the bare minimum. I really do.
What's relevance? Like 500-ish?
Yeah, like 7 to 9 wins, depending on some breaks.
That's a low as hell bar for a blue blood franchise.
It is, but that's how bad things have been for the Giants. They would be pumped to go 8-9. I think they would be legitimately pumped.
But then you're keeping your coach and GM, and I don't know that you want to keep the GM. Do you?
If this season is promising, I think it's okay. Like, however you want to put that together. If they flirt with 500 and maybe Dart gets to play and he shows promise, or if Abdul Carter is defensive rookie of the year, whatever that looks like, I think I'm fine with it. I'm not ready to give up on Brian Daboll for starters. I do think he's a good coach who's dealt with some bad personnel. So yeah, all of it. They got bullish on the New York Giants.
Carter, Thibodeau, Burns, and Dexter Lawrence. That's formidable. The secondary is garbage. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh to the Giants fans watching, but let's be real. This secondary is really bad. It's rotten. They don't have any good players. Javon Holland is solid in the back end, but if he was so great, would Miami let him go?
It's a work in progress, J-Mac. We'll say that, but I feel good about it. And hey, if the bottom drops out for some, if this doesn't work and they clean house, then they didn't give up next year's one to get Jaxson Dart, which is a huge win for the next guy. That's cold comfort to Joe Schoen, but it's nice for the New York Giants at the very least.
Yeah.
wanted to pick your brain on a couple other big picks. We already talked about the Cowboys, although I just wanted to say, for all my Cowboys fans listening, if you're trying to make sense of this, I did hear pretty reliably that, as J-Mac pointed out, Tet McMillan was Dallas's target at 12.
Ooh.
And Carolina obviously changed the math on that. The big question for me with them, clearly they go Tyler Booker. They drafted a third offensive lineman named Tyler, which I feel bad for the beat writers in Dallas who have to sort all that out. But it would have been Tet McMillan, I'm fairly confident. And they could have drafted Matthew Golden. They opt not to. So now I just can't wait to see what Matthew Golden does in Green Bay and how much you and I are going to talk about that if he's a star for the Packers here in 7 or 8 months.
Well, I mean, listen, I like Golden as much as the next guy. I thought Dallas was going to take him, but I'm looking at the wide receiver depth chart. Jaden Reed's pretty good. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, if he's healthy, Dontavius Wicks, they got like 4 or 5 good receivers. Golden, is he going to fight for playing time there? You know him better than I do. He's a Texas guy, but I don't think it's a lock that he's going to catch like 50, 60 passes next year.
No, I'd be really impressed with what they have. Like you just said, I mean, you got 3, 4 receivers. You got the 2 tight ends, Musgrave and Tucker Kraft.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I see this as kind of a Xavier Worthy situation where on draft weekend, we're going to be talking about this incessantly. And then there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve and the impact is not going to be as immediate as we all got excited about. But by the end of the season, Xavier Worthy was Kansas City's best skill player. And I think that's probably the hope for the Packers, that this guy's the 4th or 5th option in your offense to start. But if he's trending toward higher on that list by the end of the season, then you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Moving down, I guess the other theme for this, and you kind of hit on that too, but so many quote unquote safe picks in this draft. You know, there's a run on offensive tackles at the end. Josh Connerly goes to Washington. Josh Simmons goes to Kansas City. I'll throw in not an offensive tackle, but the Detroit Lions take Tyleik Williams at defensive tackle. Just felt like a lot of teams being safe, beefing up their fronts. And I don't think that's terribly surprising for a draft where people talked about the depth of it as opposed to the star power. It seems like teams kind of bought into that as well.
I think it's a smart move, right? I mean, you build through the trenches. That's what they did. I was a little perplexed by the Eagles going linebacker because best I could tell, didn't they keep Zach Bond? And I know one of the guys was injured, but the Eagles had a really good linebacking core. I didn't see that as like a big need. Yeah, Zach Bond's still there. Nakobe Dean. I thought they liked Jeremiah Trotter, the kid. I believe he's from Clemson.
Yeah.
And to add, I was like a little caught off guard by that.
Can I sell you on Jihad Campbell and Howie Roseman? Unfortunately, he doesn't return my calls. I can't promise this, but can I sell you on Jihad Campbell if I think he's going to be more of a versatile sort of designated pass rusher and linebacker type of guy?
Okay.
Like
that makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
I see Jihad Campbell. I mean, I certainly think he's going to play off ball, but I also think he's going to be a guy that contributes to the pass rush. I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons. That is a little too strong because Micah Parsons is incredible, but I see it being a similar sort of idea where it's like, hey, he can blitz, he can come off the edge, he can drop in space, he can be a little bit of whatever we need. That is my guess at what Jihad Campbell's role is going to look like, which if that's what they do, I think it's pretty exciting.
Makes sense. Because didn't they lose a couple defensive line? Williams is gone.
And Josh Sweat is off to Arizona as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes more sense as to why Campbell would fit there. The one late pick that surprised me, Baltimore. So their best defensive player is Mr. Hamilton at safety.
Yes, sir.
And they went and drafted another safety.
I know.
This is kind of zigging when everybody else is zagging. Right now, it's all about the trenches, right? And cornerbacks. It's less about linebackers and safeties. Well, the Eagles linebackers were awesome last year. I mean, they were phenomenal. And I wonder if that opens some eyes. Hey, we don't have to do it the way everyone else does. I mean, their 2 best defenders next year may be safeties in Baltimore. And I don't know that we've seen that in a while. Were you surprised by that?
I think that is such a phenomenal point. And it's interesting, too, because the Ravens, they don't need pass rush in the immediate future. Like Kyle Van Noy is still there. Odafe Owe is still there. But like all of their pass rushers are entering contract years. So it makes sense if Baltimore wants a pass rusher, and instead they say, what if we just have the best back seven in football instead? What if we have Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton plays 10 freaking roles in our defense? And oh, by the way, we just spent a first round pick on corner with Nate Wiggins last year. And now we add a center fielder safety who can help out our pass coverage. It's very interesting. It seems like Baltimore looked at it and was like, why take a mid-tier edge rusher who maybe isn't a star when we could just soup up the secondary? And if nobody can get open, then maybe anybody can get to the quarterback. That's kind of how I read that, which I thought was very interesting.
I haven't heard souped up since like when I was a teenager and I souped up my car with two 12-inch subs.
I was going to say, it sounds like Volvo.
That's a real thing that
happened. Yeah.
No, but the other point is, like you said, Stark's a great center fielder. Hamilton, you need him in the box, and you really need him for Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. so that could work out for Baltimore. I think it's an interesting pick. I didn't. We know that the Ravens historically love drafting from the SEC. Obviously, Stark's a really good player. I like that move by Baltimore.
I just see Baltimore's back seven as being almost positionless, where depending on the opponent, depending on the personnel, they can just send out whoever they want in whatever formation. Like I didn't even mention Marlon Humphrey. Yeah, they can do whatever the hell they want with their back seven, which is very intriguing. Even I'm sure some Ravens fans would say, can we have a badass edge rusher once? Can we finally go find our next Terrell Suggs? But if you can't have that, at least you can have like 8 good coverage players on the same team. All right. We were kind of we hit on the big touchstones, but we got a whole thing planned for you, J-Mac. So let's jump into it. We touched on a few of these, but I want to hit on you. I mean, what good would we be if we didn't do a winners and losers segment? So we each took 2 winners and 2 losers. Yes, we're just gonna dive off into the deep end and say, like, what did we really love here? Who did we love? And what really bummed us out about the first round? So winners and losers, we will start with the winners, and I will defer to you.
Okay. For the 4 Atlanta Falcons fans who are in America, I think they have one of the weakest fan bases out there, unless the Dirty Bird comes back in style. I love what the Falcons did. This is a team, one of the best stats I saw leading up to the draft. In the last 5 seasons, they don't have anybody with 7 sacks or more. Like that's just been their major Achilles heel. They cannot find a pass rush. So what do? Let's go get 2. Let's go get 2 guys from the SEC. Let's shop in the SEC where they have the best pass rushers. Walker, I love, and Pierce has unbelievable bend coming off the edge. These are twitched up guys. You put them on turf indoors. I think Atlanta could have something. Now they got a young nucleus, right? Penix, don't totally know what he's got. He started 3 games. He lost 2 of them in overtime, but I like Penix as a prospect. The receiving core, they're going to have to add to it. I like Drake London, but Mooney and Ray McCloud, again, I don't want to disparage Kyle Pitts for a second time. Like the running backs, Bijan and Algier, but I think Atlanta probably wins the division. And I think those edge rushers are going to help. I like the back end of their secondary. Jesse Bates was phenomenal. Absolute steal getting him in free agency. I thought he should have been all pro. AJ Terrell up and down, but that pass rush is going to get what's going to win them, I believe, 10 or 11 games.
I love that you said that, and I love when this happens because I promise you, I did not produce this. This is my natural reaction. I hated that.
Oh.
I hate it so much, J-Mac, and I'll tell you why. And look, Falcons fans, this could age terribly. If James Pierce and Jalen Walker are studs, if this is the Rams all over again with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, then it's great. That's phenomenal, and this was such a great decision. I loved what they did with Walker at 15, especially he is the first round pick to the Falcons from Georgia in their history. They've never taken a Bulldog. So how excited must Falcons fans feel to have the local team send a guy down the road from Athens? But then you trade a future 1?
Yeah, that's the only part I didn't like.
It's crazy. And okay, here's the thing that really drives me crazy about it. Terry Fontenot is the general manager in Atlanta. He worked for the New Orleans Saints in 2018 when they sent a future 1 to Green Bay for Marcus Davenport.
Ooh.
Marcus Davenport, who managed 24 and a half sacks in 5 years for the Saints and left and has been on 2 other teams since then. Not a bad player, but not a guy that you trade a future one for, especially when Green Bay wound up getting Jair Alexander in that draft. I don't think it's worth, the juice is not worth the squeeze, even knowing that Atlanta needs edge rushers. They already got a guy at 15. That's a start. And then what does everybody say? You got too much dip on your chip, guys. Like, what are we doing here? It felt a little reckless to me. And by a little, I mean very.
And the only problem with that is, Penix is a young guy. I know age-wise he's older, but, there's a world where he just is overwhelmed by being a starter and being the guy and the leader. And this goes sideways and they win 6 or 7 games, and that number 1 pick is like a top 12 pick. So that exists. I like the Falcons upside enough. Now it's unfair to me because it's unfair to the audience. I'm going to kind of kill Jacksonville for giving up a future one for a wide receiver. So, we'll get to that later. I don't love giving up future ones, but for the Falcons, who are desperate to be relevant, I think they can win that division. It's just not a strong group. Tampa.
If they're both stars, then I look like an idiot, and Terry Fontenot is great at his job. But they both have to be stars. That's my thing. Or at the very least, James Pierce does.
What they need a combined, at least 12 sacks from them combined.
As a starting point, yes, that's what I need like next year. But I also need them both to be, I need them to produce for years and years to be giving up multiple ones. And I'm with you. It's when we're parting ways with future first round picks, I'm getting scared, which yes, we will touch on the Jags-Browns trade in a minute. For me, literally, I had a different team written here. And then at the very end of the draft, I changed it to the Kansas City Chiefs for trading back, actually. I'm kind of surprised to say that because you just associate the Chiefs with the 32nd overall pick. But no, they traded back from 31 and still got, I think, I think the best left tackle prospect in this draft. I think Josh Simmons would have been the best left tackle prospect in this draft if he hadn't gotten hurt. Now, it is a very serious injury. He tore his patellar tendon. That's your knee tendon. It's a very big deal. But if they feel comfortable with that, you get arguably the best left tackle in the draft at pick 32. And they gained a day 3 pick while they did it. It's peak Chiefs stuff. It's the type of stuff you only get away with it when you're winning multiple Super Bowls. I thought it was phenomenal. I think it's tremendous value. I thought Simmons might have gone a lot higher on Thursday night.
The weird part is, weren't there like 9 or 10 offensive linemen that went in the first round? And for everybody to say, I'm sure they looked at the medicals. I don't want to say KC got damaged goods, obviously, because the kid is talented. There are some immaturity questions around him. But again, that could easily be, hey, it's Patrick Mahomes. Clean up your act, Will. Exactly. You come to play with LeBron, Luka. Hey, you can't have that extra burger. It's just not going to work. You got to tighten it up. So I wonder if that culture in KC wins him over. But that's a good win for you.
I love good value. And and you can get away with stuff when Patrick Mahomes is telling you what to do. And Andy Reid, by the way, who has a Mike Tomlin-esque ability to keep nonsense under wraps. Yeah, I think that'll be just fine. And by the way, he doesn't even have to play right away. They signed Jalen Moore this free agency. They still have Juwan Taylor. I'm sure they'd love it if he could take somebody's job, but even if he doesn't, this could be a long-term play. I just think it's so smart. All right, your second winner on the night. And yes, let's give some air to this blockbuster that happened at the top of this draft, which it's weird, dude. Before the draft started, I found myself thinking like, what am I reading about these trade rumors? How could the Browns possibly want to trade away from Travis Hunter? And then by the time it happened, I was like, what are the Jags doing giving up a future one to move 3 spots? Like, I'm not sure how to feel about this.
I know that I'm picking a second bad team, but I thought the Browns totally won this trade in a landslide. Now, I know there was some devastation over, we don't have Travis Hunter, generational talent. I mean, all right, fine. You got another number 1. And oh, by the way, it's the Jags number 1 next year. Trevor Lawrence has been hurt, I believe, the last 2 years. He played through injuries 2 years ago. Last year, he was just hurt. They were terrible. They keep firing coaches. I don't know if they're going to be good. What if the Jags win 6 games? The Browns are looking at another top 7 pick next year. And oh, by the way, the Browns have the first pick in the second round, 33. So they'll get the best player left, whoever they want, their pick of the litter. And then they have the 36th pick. And the 2 picks after their 33rd pick are the Giants. They just got Jaxson Dart. Titans just got Cam Ward. So if you want to take Shedeur, you could take him at 36 as your 3rd pick. I like Mason Graham a lot as a guy in the middle next to Myles Garrett. I know the Browns don't have much offense, any offense. The quarterback room there is barren. I think you might be 3rd on the depth chart. Just double check. It's bleak. That being said, Stefanski's a great coach, good offensive mind. And again, I thought this was an absolute heist, getting all these picks. I mean, listen, you and I both, I like Travis Hunter a lot. Is he going to be Jamar Chase? I'm pretty confident he's not going to be Jamar Chase. Is he going to be Justin Jefferson? I don't think so. Maybe he is. I don't see it. I see him as really, really good, but is he Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't know, honestly. So I'm not as high on Hunter as everybody else. I love this trade for the Browns. And again, maybe he works great in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville, listen, Brian Thomas won me a fantasy league last year. That guy's a monster. Okay. I still like the running back ETN. Offensive line, Trevor Lawrence, when he's healthy, good. But, you pair Brian Thomas with Travis Hunter, and you got a good duo. So that's not a bad combo. So it's okay for Jacksonville, but I just love it for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I feel so conflicted because I really do love Travis Hunter. I think he's a special player. For weeks ago, I was saying if the Cowboys could get up there, they should absolutely do it. How fun would that be? Get Travis Hunter on the Cowboys. Who cares what you have to give up? But looking at what the Jags gave up to move just 3 spots, so that a really good player is going to be there for you at 5, and you give up this year's 2 and next year's 1 anyway, it just felt so rich to me. It felt so rich to me. And I don't want to be in a spot where I'm betting against Travis Hunter because I think he's incredible. And I think it's so fun that a guy is trying to buck all of this history and be great on both sides of the ball. But he would have to be Jamar Chase, or even on the other side of the ball, he would have to be like a Patrick Surtain type of guy for this to work out for Jacksonville. And I'm not 1,000% confident saying that to give up what they did to do it.
Just listening to you there, do you think Jacksonville did this just to get a star and get the fan base excited? Because people were excited for Trevor Lawrence and it just hasn't really happened. And they're so desperate to be good. They're kind of mocked as the international team from the NFL that gets sent overseas all the time. But Travis Hunter has some star power. If anybody's coming into the league as a marquee name after Shedeur, it's got to be Travis Hunter, right? He's got the swag, the drip, as the kids say. He's a cool guy and he's really talented. And I think that wattage probably is very attractive to a kind of a desperate franchise like Jacksonville.
It kind of feels that way. And I think it's also worth noting that the new GM in Jacksonville, James Gladstone, is a disciple of Les Snead and Sean McVay out here in LA. They are the definitive screw those picks team. They're not afraid to do something bold and get rid of draft capital to get the guy that they really want. And Gladstone is a young guy. I think he's younger than me, which is terrifying. But so maybe not only to make a splash, but to send a statement about who they want to be. And for any Jags fans listening, I'll give you the credit of saying Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. is a very fun receiver pairing. On the other side of that, you add Travis Hunter, and if they want him to play corner, adding him to a defense that has Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, that sounds really fun too. This could work. It absolutely could work, but it can't just work. It has to really, really work for this trade to have been worth it, in my opinion.
They got to get to an AFC championship or something. Even in that ballpark.
He's got to be an all-pro caliber player at one of the positions. He doesn't have to be all-pro on both sides of the ball.
Right.
But I need him to be an all-pro at one of those positions for this to have worked out. Although, okay, so we agree on this, but I do just want to throw out, it is worth mentioning, just in the interest of fairness, My wonderful producer, Ryan, sent me this earlier in the night. This is very reminiscent of the Julio Jones trade that Atlanta did with Cleveland. And just spoiler alert, the Cleveland Browns in that draft, the picks that they got in the Julio trade amounted to a whole lot of nothing exciting. Whether you want to talk about Phil Taylor, the defensive tackle they drafted, that's how they netted Trent Richardson. That's how they wound up with Brandon Weeden. Like the Browns didn't really do anything crazy with that haul last time. So, and obviously Julio was an all-decade player. So maybe the Jags are onto something here. Maybe
Andrew Berry is got way better than whoever that clown was that drafted Brandon Weeden. Oh my gosh.
We've come a long way from 2012. Yeah, we've come a long way from 2012. My other winner that I wanted to mention, a little under the radar, not the sexiest pick, not the sexiest position in the draft. I think teams picking in the late teens get forgotten about. I lit up when the Tampa Bay Bucks drafted Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I think he is such a good player. I think he is forgotten about because he's not crazy big. He's not crazy fast. Nothing about him looks exciting, but he's a polished route runner. He is a blocker. He's got great hands. I expect him to be able to play right away and play at a high level. And oh, by the way, who's he learning from? Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Sounds pretty sweet to me. Two Ring of Honor Super Bowl champion receivers in Tampa. You got Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. I'm looking over the first round picks, and now I do. I mean, Ashton Genty is probably your favorite to be rookie of the year, but at the very least, I think this guy's an offensive rookie of the year sleeper.
Does it feel like Seattle having Lockett and Metcalf and adding JSN, an Ohio State guy?
Yes, except I think he can hit the ground running faster than JSN did.
Yeah, well, it took a little while for JSN.
It did. No, it absolutely did.
Year. Second year he popped. Yeah, no, I like it. That's a good one. So who you got, Bucks or Falcons winning the division?
I'm rolling with my. Every year we do this. Every year we write off the Bucks. We've done it every year since Brady left, and every year they win the division. I think they're a better team. I think they have a better, more proven quarterback. They just added to their offense. Yeah, I'll ride with the Bucks until somebody dethrones them. I'm cool with that. All right, the negative side of this.
Oh boy,
let's talk some losers, and I think you might be on the right track with the first one.
Oh geez, these guys already hate me. Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I was the one saying last summer trade TJ Watt, and then they get 10 wins, and everybody's like, "You're an idiot, YOUR." I don't know, man. I don't get it. You already spend all of your money on defense. I believe they were one of the highest spending defenses in the league, maybe number one, right? And offensively, you can never figure it out since Ben left. They were held under 20 points 9 times last year. 9. And that's with Pickens, Najee Harris, Russell Wilson. They just can't figure it out. So what do they do in the first round? They could get Shedeur. They could have. They could have got plenty of other offensive skill guys. And they take a defensive tackle. And I get it. Like, that's their DNA. Our culture is going to be defense. Listen, I made fun of another quarterback room earlier. Currently, Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Now, yes, Aaron Rodgers could be waiting in the wings, but as a Jets guy, that ain't a great thing, folks. So I just don't get it. Remember, Steelers don't have a second-round pick from the Metcalf deal. Their next pick is 83. So it's like, holy hell, the offense was running in mud. We passed on a quarterback, and now we got to wait 50 picks before our next pick, unless they trade up, which would forfeit future picks. I don't get it. I don't think they're a playoff team next year.
I think I know the answer to this based on what you just said, but I mean, how much, if at all, does it change your opinion if Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler by August?
Not much.
Yeah,
he wasn't good last year. He excelled, and everybody's like, well, the final 10 games, he was good. Hold up. Drill down on those numbers. A lot of it was stat padding in the fourth quarter because they were trailing everybody. And he's putting up like 20 points in the fourth quarter, stacking numbers with Devontae Adams. Like, it was Fugazi, man. I think it's over for Rodgers. I don't like, and him and Mike Tomlin. And then did you read about how Arthur Smith is still there, right? As the OC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's already reports that Arthur Smith and Rodgers, there's zero chance of that working out for people who cover the league and know both guys well. They're like, no shot. Remember, he worked with the Jets because it was his show. They had that goofball at the OC. I've already forgotten his name. And Rodgers like, free reign. Do whatever you want, man. Bring in Lazard. Bring in Randall, whoever you want. And he ain't getting that in Pittsburgh. So I don't even know if he's going to go to Pittsburgh.
Do you buy into the theory at all that Mike Tomlin doesn't want a quarterback because it raises the expectations? Like it raises the bar? Because if you get to 9-8 with Mason Rudolph, you're the best coach in the league. But if you draft Shedeur Sanders 21st and it doesn't work out, then not going to be the same.
I got to come off camera for a second, get my tinfoil hat and put it on to tinker with that one. Well, you need a quarterback. I mean, he had Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Mason Rudolph is he's. I don't think he's a pro, man. I don't know. Maybe a backup.
I think he's definitely worth being on a roster. But if that is a guy that you are expecting to play meaningful snaps, and I mean, if you're expecting him to start games with an S, then you shouldn't be in a playoff conversation.
How do you think Metcalf and Pickens feel right now? What the?
What
are we doing?
Very concerned. And
those are opinionated guys too.
It makes me wonder, obviously not DK, but obviously there's been so much smoke about George Pickens as a trade target. It makes me wonder if George Pickens is elsewhere by the end of the weekend so that the Steelers have the draft capital necessary to get a quarterback. Because unless it's Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers can solve all their problems, but at least he can start 17 games for you. If that's not the plan, then man, that's bleak. Even no, look, I know Mike Tomlin got the Steelers to 500 with Duck Hodges, I think was his name, but you don't want to live that way, man. You don't want to force your defense to only allow 14 points a game to win every week. That's just no way to live in the NFL, brother. All right, my first loser. Actually, we'll just keep it in the AFC North. I feel bad saying this. I hate to ding players before they've played in the NFL. I'm just going to say the entire Bengals situation is confusing to me, mainly because, look, you draft Shamar Stewart. He had a perfect 10 relative athletic score. Like he charted as one of the most athletic pass rushers that's ever worked out in the history of people tracking that stuff.
Wow.
He still only had 4.5 sacks in his entire college career. So
in his entire career?
In his entire college career, he had 4.5 sacks. Now I feel like I need to double check that just in case.
It's disruption, not production sometimes, right?
That's what they say. That's what they say. Yeah, I wasn't wrong. I had to double check because that's such a crazy stat. 4.5 sacks in his college career, which I get it. Texas A&M didn't necessarily ask him to hunt the quarterback. Maybe he could blow up. Even if that's true, you got to imagine that a first-round pick at defensive end, it also feels like it could spell the end for Trey Hendrickson. Like drafting Shamar Stewart in the top 20 is a very clear signal saying, hey, man, we know you want that awesome new deal. You might not be getting it here, and we are insuring ourselves in case we need to trade you or if you hold out or whatever. So I have to consider the Bengals losers on night one because I'm not convinced that their rookie is going to produce at the level they want him to. And even if he does, do you really get better if you're losing Trey Hendrickson at the time you're adding a rookie defensive end? I thought that was puzzling.
Yeah, that's a good take. And the Bengals historically do dumb things in the draft, with the exception of, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. This is a tough one. I wrote it down. I felt great about it. And now I'm looking at it. I'm like, this feels harsh. I still think it can work out well for him, depending on where he lands. But I think you have to call Shedeur Sanders a loser here in the first round. I mean, this is a guy during the season. Oh, top 5 pick. Dion on social media in like February, he's going in the top 5. Falls out of the first round. Now, yes, you can spin this into being a positive. And listen, I played a lot of sports growing up. I'll never forget, sixth grade Jason thought he was going to the NBA. I was going to be the next Magic Johnson. And then you get to freshman basketball and you like get cut at the second cuts and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's happening here? And I was devastated, like legit devastated. I was a really good soccer player. And I remember we lost a state cup in PKs. And it was clear I wasn't going to make the team next year because everybody's getting big and I wasn't getting big. I was devastated. I'm telling you, that stuff stung for years. You can't tell me that this will not hurt Shedeur Sanders for a while. Like, you don't instantly bounce back from this. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback in the right setting next season, but he has to be absolutely wounded from tumbling out of the first round. Whatever party he was at, there was a ton of people there. He was putting on a smile, that had to hurt, man. And maybe this is a higher power's way of saying it. You need to be humbled, son. But I hope Shedeur bounces back. He's obviously very talented. I would have taken him in the first round, but he's going to bed tonight. I don't think he's falling asleep anytime soon, man. That's just a tough night for a talented kid.
I mean, even if we don't want to pile on Shedeur as a player or whatever, you lose money when you take a fall like that. And I know money probably matters less to Shedeur Sanders than some other guys between his NIL earnings and his family, obviously. But you go in the top 5, you're talking $35 million fully guaranteed. You get all of that money guaranteed the minute you sign. Yeah. You fall into the second round, it is a vastly different picture. So he is very literally has lost a lot of money by falling out of the second round. And
what about the fact that like nobody wanted to trade back into the first?
That's what I was about to say.
Just to get him on the 5-year deal, right? Yep. Like Lamar Jackson. Hey, let's just grab him in 32. We'll see. Kind of worked out. People are saying we don't even see that in Shedeur Sanders. And that to me is like, whoa. I don't know if the Browns are taking him early in the second. If that happens, what are we looking at? 3rd round, maybe? Because they don't draft quarterbacks in the second round. I'm sure you've seen the numbers.
It's one really in the last 3 years, I believe. Will Levis is like the only one in the last 3 or 4 years. How's that work? It's pretty, it's pretty bleak. I hate it for him too, because I like the guy. I think he's a good player. I want to see him succeed. I was hoping, you get scooped up by a Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. It's obviously an organization that knows how to handle business. Or I was hoping he could fall to the LA Rams maybe if the Rams want to find a successor for Matthew Stafford. That is, if you're going to fall 20 spots in the draft, landing with the Rams is a quarterback's dream come true. Now, by falling to the second round, you got to navigate another minefield of not great teams. I hate to say it, but it's just true. I mean, you could get drafted by Cleveland, which obviously has not worked out for a long, long time. You could wind up in New Orleans where their cap is a mess and you're not convinced where they're going in the long term. So now not only did you fall, but you gotta, I'm sure he wants to get picked as soon as possible, but I also bet he'd like to get picked by a good team. And now you got to navigate that whole thing on Friday night. I don't love that either.
Yeah. Tough one.
For me, it's just a team that didn't do anything. The Houston Texans, in my opinion, literally losers by trading out of the first round. They were the team that orchestrated the trade with the New York Giants to let them come up and get Jaxson Dart. And that's not the end of the world. Stockpiling draft picks is fine, but it stung me to see one pick later, the LA Rams got a future first-round pick from the Atlanta Falcons. And I know it's a bigger trade for Atlanta coming up to get James Pierce, but watching somebody one pick later get a future first and all the Texans got is a second and a third, I don't love that. And it makes me wonder if the Texans realized that they gutted their whole offensive line. Yeah. Like they traded Laramie Tunsil to Washington. They traded Kenyon Green to Philly. I know like their line was terrible last year. I'm not saying that matters, but you got to refill it at some point, right? And I'd like to think you'd refill it with a first round pick. I mean, Josh Connerly and Josh Simmons went off the board after Houston traded out of the first round. If I'm CJ Stroud, I'm sitting there like, hey, you guys know I got beat to shit last year, right? What's going on?
Yeah, and the Chiefs historically have been a good drafting team, and Washington looks to be on the uptick. So the fact that they like the tackles and the Houston Texans did not is a little alarming. That's a good one by you.
That leads us to our biggest questions for Friday. Our biggest questions going into the second round. I think they're pretty similar. I mean, we've talked a good bit about Shedeur, but
yeah,
How long is this fall going to last? And then the flip side of this for me, I'm so curious to see what the Cleveland Browns do, because it's beyond obvious to say, oh, you have pick 33 and pick 36. Shedeur Sanders could be a Cleveland Brown within 15 minutes of the draft starting again on Friday night. But they have Jacksonville's 2026 one now too after the Travis Hunter trade. Maybe the Browns don't care. They have Joe Flacco. I think Kenny Pickett's in Cleveland now too. Like maybe the Browns just sit tight and they're like, we'll worry about quarterback next year. We're not drafting Shedeur. I'm so curious to see how they view it, because it could be Shedeur or maybe Cleveland loads up the rest of their roster. Like I have no idea what they do there.
Would you see them taking Jalen Milroe over Shedeur?
Ooh, I hadn't even gotten there, but I think it's a fabulous point. It's such an interesting would you rather, because Jalen Milroe, I'm just going to say it, he's not a very good quarterback right now, but he's one of the most talented prospects I've ever watched. I mean, he's so fast. He's got a rocket arm. Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year. I would guess he could coach Jalen Milroe up. Shedeur Sanders, not a very athletically gifted prospect, but a quarterback who could start in the NFL right now. I don't know. What would you do there? Project versus ready to go guy.
Remember, Browns took DTR, bit of a project, or scrambling guy, and they tried him. Didn't quite work. I just wonder if they've seen so much Lamar in the division that they're like, do we roll the dice with our own Lamar just to see? Right? Remember, Lamar couldn't throw any passes the first year when he came on like halfway through. He was just a running quarterback. And then boom, by year 3, it's like, oh, we've unlocked some things here. So Milroe's interesting. I do have a bet that, it would go, the quarterbacks would go Ward, Dart, Shedeur, Milroe. It's like plus 380. So I'm hoping Shedeur goes first, but I still like Jalen Milroe a lot. I just think you just got to be smart. Like the way the Ravens built Lamar. Hey, let's build the offense around his skill set. We're not going to try to put a square into a round hole. We're going to just take your strengths and play to them. And it's kind of working great for Baltimore. I don't know if Stefanski would do that, but kind of intriguing idea.
I love that I'm falling for the same problem that I criticized NFL teams for at the top of this, because if you just turn on the tape and watch the guys play football, Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. Like right now today, Shedeur is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. But my God, am I in love with the idea of what Jalen Milroe could be if somebody like Kevin Stefanski got to coach him for 2 years. I could be dead wrong, but watch the guy run, watch how strong his arm is, and it's very enticing, I have to admit. One last thing for you, J-Mac. Let's get to it, which is basically just, if you got a shout out, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've got something writing on this, but of the guys that haven't had their names called, I mean, obviously we've hit on the quarterbacks. Will Johnson, the Michigan corner that so many people love. Who's your guy for the top of the second round? If there's one guy sitting out there.
Well, I like Will Johnson a lot. I don't know what happened. I know there's the injury history, obviously, but there's some slow stuff is dogging him. He's just not fast. I like Johnson. The kid Mike Green really showed well down at the Senior Bowl. Kid out of Marshall. He's kind of an animal. I wouldn't be shocked if they went with him. But I just, something tells me they got to go quarterback at the top of the second round. Maybe not the first pick, but the fourth one. So Browns will be all eyes on Cleveland for sure.
2 picks in the first 4 selections on Friday night. So yeah, I mean, Cleveland controls the top of the board. I already said I can't wait to see what they do. I'm going to be a shameless homer and shout out my guy. He's not on the top of anybody's list, but LSU tight end Mason Taylor. We saw the 2 tight ends, Warren and Colston Loveland, go. We talked about them. I think Mason Taylor is going to be the 3rd tight end drafted. I really thought he had a shot to go on Thursday night. I thought he might go in the final 2 or 3 picks in the first round. I bet he's one of the first 3 or 4 picks on Friday night. I just think he is such a well-rounded player. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. I would be champing at the bit to draft this guy on Friday night. I can't wait to see who does it.
What about the, I think he's Bowling Green, Harold Fannin.
Yeah, Harold Fannin. 1,500 yards and like 40 touchdowns for Bowling Green last year. Absolutely.
Look at you pulling the stats out of thin. Oh my god,
40 is a little bit of an exaggeration, but
he's still though. That's the kind of production he delivered. I would love the Jets to grab him. I don't know about second round. I don't know if he'll be there in the third, so I guess it would have to be second. But yeah,
okay? The Jets did the safe thing for you in round one. I mean, what do they got next? What are you looking for?
I mean, at some point, you got to start bolstering the skill position guys. I like Breece Hall. I like Garrett Wilson, obviously. It seems like they could use one more skill position guy to really pop. But then again, it's like, what offense are we running with Justin Fields? I don't know. It's still a big mystery. So, yeah, I would lean towards some kind of skill position guy.
To take it back to where we started, could I interest you in a Cowboys draft pick for Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson? Like, can I pry one of those guys out of there and get them to Dallas?
For your 26th first-round pick? Sure.
Ooh, see, that's a little rich.
No, I mean, by the way, yes, I saw the Breece Hall stuff. I don't know, what was it, Josina Anderson? I don't know how credible it is. Breece Hall instantly replied with the fingers crossed emoji, like, get me the hell out of here. Not great.
Not what you want to see.
No, not ideal. Suboptimal for sure. But listen, it's par for the course. My kids ask me all the time, Dad, why the hell do you root for the Jets? What's wrong with you? They stink. I was like, what, should I just root for a good team? They're like, yeah, the Chiefs are good. I was like, hell no. I was born in New York, and I picked the Jets at a young age and just stuck with it. And it bore some fruit with Mark Sanchez. You remember those two AFC title games?
Absolutely.
And no fruit since. It's, yeah.
You know what? Those, some of us are called on we're called for tougher battles than others. And it just makes the victory that much more sweet. J-Mac, this was a ton of fun, man. I appreciate you. Like I said, I know it's late. I know you got stuff to do. We appreciate it, man. This was a ton of fun. I'll catch up with you soon, all right?
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Jason for hopping on, and thanks to y'all for checking us out. Hope you enjoy the rest of the 2025 NFL Draft. We are off on Friday, but we will be recording a recap Saturday. We got you covered rounds 2 through 7. That'll be out on Sunday, so a day earlier than usual. You can recap the rest of the draft with us as you go through your weekend. Obviously, we'll be there for you on Monday. Whatever you prefer your schedule to be, we will be there to catch up on all the happenings with you. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not, so you can get it. Go find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your pods. You can find us on YouTube as well. Point being, we'll be recapping the rest of the draft for your enjoyment. Until then, I hope y'all have fun watching the rest of it. I know I will be. I will chat with y'all real soon. Until then, I appreciate it so much. I will talk to y'all next time.